Hi, this is Mashnu, and here is a game that I played last week at the chess club. I was playing white and I opened with d4 and we got the Queen's Gambit, the Slav defense, and here at this moment my opponent took on c4, and the other option is to play e6, that's the most played move, but d takes c4 is also quite popular. And now the most solid way to play with white here is to play a4, and that's what I did. a4 is meant to prevent black from defending the pawn on c4 by playing b5. Bishop to f5, so black brings the bishop out of the pawn chain before playing e6. Knight to e5, wanting to recapture on c4 with the knight. Knight b to d7, and now I took on c4, and here my opponent played c5, and the most common move actually here is to play queen to c7. The plan of black then is to advance e4 to undermine the center of white without having to move the c pawn, because moving the c pawn to c5 gives away the square b5. So that's why queen to c7 is played to after, for example, g3, to play e5, attacking the center. And after exchanging here on e5, bishop to f4, pinning the knight on e5, the theory continues with knight f to d7 and bishop to g2. And this is an interesting fight, but in the game something different happened, because my opponent played c5 instead of queen to c7, so undermining white's center immediately, but giving away on the other hand the square b5. I played f3 here to prepare e4. He took on d4, I took again, and now he continued dynamically with e5, sacrificing a pawn, a sacrifice that I didn't accept. I didn't want to take on e5 because I did some calculation, and it looks very active for black to play here bishop to c5. The white queen must go to f4, and black actually liberates himself by sacrificing a piece. So there is enough compensation. Especially this diagonal to f2 can become dangerous for white. So I didn't want to go into this, and I chose for a more positional approach, and that's to give a check on d6, knight to d6 check. Of course the king can not go to e7, because then I take on f5 with check again, and then I save my queen. So he has to take on d6, queen takes e6. Now black is not able to castle, and he played queen to b6, and now here I took on b6, and later I played my knight to b5, but actually playing the knight to b5 immediately would have been stronger, even stronger. After king to d8 to prevent knight to c7, now I can play e4, and then after queen takes d6, knight takes e6, I'm threatening f7 and b7. So after bishop to e6, knight takes b7 check, and this is a better position for white. Of course, white wins a pawn, and there is not much compensation for black. But well, in the game I didn't see this immediate knight to b5. I thought that it wouldn't make much difference if I take first on b6, after knight takes b6, e4, bishop to e6, and now knight to b5. But there is a difference. Now the king can go to e7, and that's a good defense. I continue the bishop to e3, knight f to d7, preventing bishop to c5 check. And here at this moment my opponent had very little time. He had about, I think, 15 minutes, something like that, or maybe 20 for the rest let's see, for 20 moves. and I had about 45 minutes for the next 20 moves. So I didn't want to simplify the position. I thought I want to keep having threats in the position so I can keep him busy, and he doesn't have much time. So I played bishop to d2 here. Now it's not the best move. Actually a5 is better. After knight to c4, then simply trading on c4 and then taking on a7 is, according to my chess engine, the best continuation. Now in the game I played bishop to d2. He played knight to c4. I gave the check on b4. That's what I wanted. And after king to f6, I first took on c4 and then I played knight to d6. And this was my idea. My idea was to place a knight on this dark square d6, because my opponent doesn't have now a dark squared bishop, so I can make use of the weakening of his dark squares. So this knight on d6 is very difficult to remove from there. And I'm attacking the bishop on c4, so he played bishop to e6. Now I castle to bring my both rooks into play. He played a5, and this is actually a key moment in the game. What I did is I stayed on the same track as before, the idea of defending this knight on d6. So I played bishop to a3. But the thing is that I should have reassessed the position here, and the best move would have been bishop to c3, with the idea that I'm not only attacking b7, I'm also threatening to play f4, because then this pawn on e5 is pinned by the bishop on c3. So this shows actually how important it is to, during the game, to reassess the position again and again, and not staying in the same plan that we found a few moves before. And this is an interesting and instructive moment for me, because after bishop to a3, black gets counterplay. I took here on b7, and this is also not the best decision maybe, because now the b file is opened, and this knight on a4 now is attacking my pawn on b2. And after knight to d6, he played rook h to b8, and so now my b2 pawn is attacked twice. The position again is equal now, so my advantage is gone completely. And this bishop is very bad placed on a3. It has actually nowhere to go. The squares c5 and b4 are in hands of black. So actually this bishop right now is not more than a pawn. Well, it's a little more in the sense that it's defending d6 and defended the b2 pawn, but it has no activity, no way to play more. I play rook f to b1, and this is something that psychologically, when you see that your position is getting worse, sometimes we don't see the best moves. So here actually it's much more logical to play rook to f2 to defend this b2 pawn. But somehow I played rook f to b1, and now after rook to b6 he wants to put two rooks in the b file. I played g4 with the idea of making it possible later to move my knight to f5. He played g6 to take away this square f5 from my knight. I played king to f2. He played rook a to b8, putting more pressure on my b2 pawn, and here he offered me a draw. And I must tell that at this point my opponent had only 3 minutes left, that's for the next 9 moves, and after that, after the time control, we would get 15 minutes extra time for the rest of the game. And I had about 15 minutes left here, so I think my opponent was worried about playing with so little time. Maybe he would blunder in the rest of the game, so he offered me a draw. And considering that I had given away my advantage in the game now, so I accepted the draw offer. So we shook hands, had a beer, and we replayed the game. Okay, I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you next time on YouTube. Leave your comments.